Alright, so by now I'm sure everyone knows at least what Roswell is, or the Roswell Incident was. We have talked about it quite a bit on the channel, and of course we go to the Roswell UFO Festival yearly at this point. So if you guys are watching this, yes, we will be down in a couple weeks, so we hope to see you there. But yeah, this one was written in 1980, and it's one that I wanted to read just so we could get a earlier written book, and then if you stay tuned next week, you'll get a more recent written book. Alright, so up top here you see the title, The Roswell Incident, and like I was saying, there are some of these like subtitles here: the most important UFO encounter of our century. You see that this one is fully illustrated. You got like a picture of different alien beings, kind of warped. And here's the other subtitle, The Classic Study of UFO Contact. And then the author's name by Charles Berlitz and William L. Moore. So on the side we got the publishers, we got the title again, and the authors. And then on the back, obviously, it's just going to try to get you interested in the book. Unfortunately, my ISBN is covered up by this price tag, but you can still find this readily available on Amazon. So this one clocks in at 170 pages, and while it is a chapter book, throughout you'll see different drawings or photographs sometimes of different people, places, or drawings of like the aliens or whatever beings they're talking about. I was lucky enough to get this for Christmas from my grandparents, so I was pretty excited to finally be able to dig into this around the time of the incident. And I just wrote some notes while I was reading this that we could talk about. So one person that they did write about here was Norma Gardner, who claimed to see two alien bodies. Claimed this on her deathbed. Now this book claims that the bodies and material are located at a CIA building in Langley, Virginia. So a little bit different than I think what everyone knows, or what everyone thinks may have happened to the craft if it was alien in nature. You hear Wright-Patterson a lot, sometimes people say Area 51, so that one's a little bit different. July 7th is when KOAT heard from KSWS about a flying saucer crash. Apparently a farmer drugged the craft under a cattle shelter with a tractor, which is something I have not heard. I have not heard of a craft actually being moved by a tractor before. This book says a few claimed the crash happened west of Socorro, New Mexico. On July 2nd, 1947, Dan Wilmot and wife saw a UFO flying north towards Corona. Corona obviously being where the debris filled that Mac Brazel found. July 5th, 1947, Sherman Campbell discovered a weather balloon wreck on his farm in Circleville, Ohio. Military did identify it immediately as a balloon. It didn't act the same as Roswell's, another note I wrote. Lieutenant Colonel Payne Jennings would go missing over the Bermuda Triangle. So he was just someone kind of involved in some of the operations, and of course the book kind of is like, ooh, aliens, Bermuda Triangles, it's ocean, weird weather currents happen. We just talked about this with the missing flight 2501 from Northwest, so I don't think there's any weird connection there. So this is the note I wrote about the book. It's a 1950s book written by Frank Scully. Misplaced the crash at Aztec, New Mexico, and I was actually talking to Sam and Nick about this, and I think perhaps this is where some of the Dulce stuff comes from, outside of Weekly, it was a old tabloid newspaper you used to find at the grocery stores at the registers, where they make up just really bogus stories, and so that's where a lot of that Dulce stuff comes from. But I was like, well, maybe they got it from this book. Scully's wife said an unnamed military person had told him alien bodies were recovered and taken to Rosenwald Institute in Chicago for study. But of course, if Scully's misplaced in the crash, is that even true? Bill Brazel said he had actually found a decent amount of material in the fields after the military had already swept it. Unfortunately, he said they did come back in 1949 and took it. He said he had accidentally talked too much about it in town. The book describes the alien bodies seeming to be very human-like except for size, even having 5-digit hands. So another claim here is the Wright-Patterson, where someone else did say the debris material was taken to Wright-Patterson, but the saucer was taken to California, to a military base. There are multiple mentions of close encounters of the third kind, and especially the alien beings from that movie. The authors note that perhaps because J. Allen Hynek, who was of course a part of Project Blue Book, somebody we've talked about quite a bit on the channel thanks to the series link above, he was a part of that. There is a Project Blue Book episode, and so they say maybe that's not a coincidence that they look so similar. Now, the book towards the end does showcase a purported photo of an alien prisoner. It's super low quality, almost looks like a drawing. I tried to reverse search this on the internet, and all I found was an album cover. Now, the album cover came out in 1987. Well, this book was published in 1980, so they didn't get it from the cover of that album, but I'm not sure where they got it from, and I don't know if it's authenticity. I do have my doubts. And then, of course, it brings up other big names: Eisenhower seeing alien bodies, Barry Goldwater attempting to get answers but being denied. There is memos July 15th, 1947 from J. Edgar, and a teletype from July 8th from Dallas field office to the FBI in Cincinnati field. So overall, it was an interesting read. The writing quality is okay, and honestly, towards the end of the book, it becomes less about Roswell. I mean, I would say Roswell is a big thing in here, but it's really not. I would say a half to 3/4 of the book is actually about Roswell. So I was kind of bummed about that. But again, it's super earlier. It is pro that this was 100% an alien wreck. There isn't any trying to debunk any of the stories, I don't believe, outside of that Frank Scully one. So a little bit of a caveat there. The newer one I am reading, I'm a little over halfway done with. I think it's better, so I'm excited to tell you guys about that, but I was at least excited to come back almost to like a ground zero as far as books are concerned to discuss Roswell. But yeah, we will be back out in Roswell here in a couple weeks starting July 4th, so if you guys are out there for the festival, come say hi. We'd love to meet you guys. And yeah, as far as this book goes, I would have to say probably a 6 out of 10. It's okay, and you do see a lot of the stuff pertaining to Roswell as far as the current mythology does pop up there. The ending just being just almost so not related to Roswell outside of being about aliens does take away from it. It is not the worst written. It did at least keep my interest, but it's not naturally flowing in a way, I guess you could say. Something else that's interesting is a lot of the mythos around ancient alien stuff does pop up here, though I do believe Eric's book Chariot of the Gods came out in 87 or in 78, so that is where most of the ancient alien stuff comes from. There's not like any ancient text or nothing that say UFOs. It's just people today reading into stuff and being like, oh, that, to my mind, that's a UFO, when in reality it could have just been clouds or stuff, you know. But at some point we'll talk about that book, and yeah, it wasn't bad. As you see, we got lots of notes. I can't say to the authenticity of them all. I have not done the research, but I wanted to at least note that so we could research it. We are planning to do a updated weekly abductions episode to really do an in-depth Roswell discussion. So stay tuned. Obviously, with us going out, we have lots of footage. We just got to put it together, get the facts right, and I think you guys would enjoy that. Now, if there's anything that you liked from my notes that you found interesting and want us to research right away and discuss with you, tell us in the comments below. We are always happy to look into whatever you guys are interested in. But until next time, guys, for more Culz book reviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, is there a Roswell book you want us to check out? Tell us in the comments below.